Good morning, everybody. What is going on today? Fun day. Here is the Saturday. It's about 8:45. I start work at 9 o'clock. Good times this morning. Went by the bank to try and drop off a check for my mortgage, and they didn't open until 9. It is what it is. So we're here. Probably the number 2 feud that is going on in WWE right now is Chris Jericho versus Dean Ambrose. I didn't have time to make a video on this feud last month, but I did talk about it in my predictions going into the Payback 2016 pay-per-view, just basically saying that it was boring and there's nothing really going on that excites me. They had a match at Payback. Dean Ambrose was able to get the victory over Chris Jericho. And because of losing at the pay-per-view, Chris Jericho went on Twitter, basically said, "So long, WWE, see you next time." Basically wasn't going to let Ambrose really get anything off of his victory, wasn't going to come back. It seemed like Chris Jericho was going to go do what Chris Jericho does, and that is basically wrestle in his spare time and be a rock star with all of his main time. Maybe he was going to go on tour with Fozzy or something like that, and basically all of the WWE Universe fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. When Chris Jericho came back on Monday Night Raw, he smashed the plant, and he was never gone. He was back. Now, you know, he's attacking Dean Ambrose. He's putting him in a straitjacket on SmackDown. You know, they're talking all about, what was it, Mitch the Plant. We're in month 2 of this feud, and honestly, I thought this was sort of just like a placekeeper for Dean Ambrose. Of course, Chris Jericho got the victory over AJ Styles at WrestleMania, and then from there, Dean Ambrose would beat Chris Jericho at the pay-per-view, and then I thought from there they would go into Dean Ambrose turning and going into a match against Roman Reigns, basically saying that he beat the guy who he beat, so that makes him better than him. And that goes around in a big circle, and I understand if he didn't make that make sense. Maybe play it back and it will, or maybe just write it down on a piece of paper, the circle of life that goes round. Because basically, when it comes down to it, it really looked like Dean Ambrose was going to turn on Roman Reigns after WrestleMania. And that's why at WrestleMania, it really made no sense to me that Dean Ambrose did not beat Brock Lesnar. That match almost wasn't even really a match. I mean, Ambrose got to pull out all the toys that he got from the Legends. He got to pull out the kendo stick. He got to pull out the... what else did he have? He had the chainsaw. I can't remember. I think he had one more thing, and I can't remember what it was. And he wasn't able to get the chainsaw started. I think he pulled it out, got the pop, and before he was able to pull the cord, Brock squashed him. And he wasn't able to go in there and Chainsaw Massacre Friday the 13th or something like that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think is what it was. But it didn't really make sense that Finn Balor came out with a chainsaw during the NXT TakeOver show, either if they were really hyping that up for Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania. But I don't know. It is what it is. But I thought they were going to go with the whole deal of basically, for that, I thought that Ambrose was going to beat Brock. Brock would disappear for a good long while, and it really wouldn't hurt him. But Ambrose would at least be able to show up on Raw and be able to tell Roman Reigns, "I beat the guy that you were never able to beat. For a whole year, you've been trying to beat this guy, and you weren't able to do it. And here I do. I walk in on my first try, and I'm able to beat the guy, and it is what it is." So here we are, going into Extreme Rules, month 2 of this Chris Jericho versus Dean Ambrose feud, the Ambrose Asylum. And it honestly seems as boring as ever. I mean, honestly, near the dying days of WCW, they had a straitjacket match, and it was horrible. I think it was Scott Steiner versus Booker T. I'm not 100% sure that's who it was, but I know at Extreme Rules, they pull out all of the stops. They, you know, every match has its own stipulation. Every match has something to make it a little bit bigger. It makes you feel like going back in the day to WCW Uncensored, where it is a pay-per-view, but it's not a sanctioned WCW show, and anything that happens can happen because there's no rules. That's basically what Extreme Rules is, and I'm thinking that this is going to be a straitjacket match between Ambrose and Jericho, and I am not looking forward to it. This is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. And I know that I've been down on Jericho this run. I just haven't felt him as he was being the babyface. I kept saying he needs to turn heel. Now he is turned heel, and it's just like, go be a rock star. They just put you in a bad spot, and it's just not working right now. I mean, my buddy Above Average Muda probably put out one of the best tweets that I've seen in a long time on Twitter. I'm guessing this is as he was watching Monday Night Raw with the whole Chris Jericho deal. He basically said that people who are younger, newer wrestler fans probably look at Chris Jericho the way that 90s wrestling fans looked at Ric Flair, who weren't old enough or weren't, more experienced fans to actually see Ric Flair in his heyday during the 80s, being one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. It's sort of like a travesty that people don't really know how Chris Jericho was during those WCW Nitro days back in the day. Maybe you need to go pick up one of the Jericho DVDs. I can't remember the ones like no, it's not even the highlight reel. I can't remember. The one of them, they came out like in 2010. That's a really good one with a great documentary on there. And then there's another one with him talking about his favorite moments and his favorite matches, and he's riding around in a limo, and they showed the matches. It is what it is. I would recommend getting the one with the documentary. The documentary is probably on the WWE Network, but honestly, I like having those ones just so you can pop them in, watch the thing, and then as you're watching the documentary, then you go back in time and you watch all of those matches that were highlighted during the documentary, because they're fresh in your mind and you want to see the whole deal and you want to see a guy for how good he is. I'd check those out. So I don't know, I'm just not feeling this one. I think when it comes down, I think that Ambrose is going to pull out the victory again, unless they want to do this as a 3-month build. Then I guess Jericho wins, and then they just do the match one more time at Money in the Bank, I guess. I think that's the pay-per-view that's after Extreme Rules. So I'm going to go into work. I'll see you guys down the road, and peace out, everybody.